Systematic. Welcome to the King Moolah TV podcast, y'all. All right. Welcome back. My name is King. Back with another one, and this is a heavy-handed topic. You know, it's always, some people may not like this being talked about a lot of the times in the media. Well, I'm not talking about it how the media talks about it. I'm talking about it with getting specific and also having people wanting to understand the world, well, how it works. People who are actually seeking information and who actually want to go further into this, this is what it's for. This episode is about, I'm going to just say it, racism. Systematic racism in the media. And primarily what I would focus on is in TV and film. Now, if I'm talking about news and, I will mention news and news media and news outlets, both on TV and online and online, like in articles and stuff like that. But they all pretty much derive from the same place. So, yeah. I think that's going to be very important. So, without further ado, when I say systematic racism in media, what I'm mainly referring to is, huge. I think there's either 2 or 3 parts. Let me just say, one part is misinformation. Another part is, and it could play into this. It could go hand in hand, but there should be a distinguishable quality about those two that makes you know that it's separate. But it's propaganda. Misinformation, propaganda. Is there anything else? Not that I could think of right now. If I think of it during the episode, then I'll say it and then I'll restate it. All 3. If there is a third one. I think I just hit the main 2, which is misinformation and propaganda. Which propaganda goes in as a narrative. It's pretty much a narration. So let me define these words. Let's get these words defined, okay? Let's identify what misinformation means, and let's go on from there. So, misinformation. New Oxford defines it as false or inaccurate information, especially that which is deliberately intended to deceive. That's New Oxford's. Let me go to Merriam-Webster. I got to give multiple sources. Misinformation, they do it shorter to the point. Incorrect or misleading information. Okay? Now, there is a word that I've heard tossed around as well. It's called disinformation. I think it's one. I used to think it was one and the same, but I'm gonna tell you what's the difference between misinformation and disinformation. Okay, disinformation by Merriam-Webster, they define it as false information deliberately and often covertly spread, as by the planting of rumors, in parentheses, in order to influence public opinion or obscure the truth. So they're trying to. So what disinformation is, I'm gonna give you. Actually, let me give you the what do you call it? New Oxford Dictionary. Okay. New Oxford defines it as false information which is intended to mislead, especially propaganda. There we go. Issued by a government organization to a rival power or the media. So, okay, so disinformation by New Oxford, and that pretty much goes into propaganda. And let me go in what propaganda is. Okay, New Oxford defines propaganda as information, especially of a biased or misleading nature, used to promote or publicize a particular political cause or point of view. That's New Oxford for propaganda. Now, Merriam-Webster for propaganda. Second definition, because the first one's talking about Roman Korea, which makes no sense. Not Korea, and they like Curia. And I think I'm saying that right. Curia. But like I said, second definition, the spreading of ideas, information, or rumor for the purpose of helping or injuring an institution, a cause, or a person. So, disinformation and propaganda sound like they go hand in hand, especially how I read the New Oxford Dictionary for both of them, or the Merriam and New Oxford dictionaries did pretty much said the same thing for propaganda and disinformation. So just to make it a little more simple, disinformation is here to blur the lines between the truth and between the truth and what's not the truth, and between what's real or fake, between the truth and lies. Excuse me. Yeah, there it is. The truth and lies. So it's misleading information. Misleading is not leading in a proper direction, not having a proper standard. So misleading to mislead is to lead in the wrong direction or into a mistaken action or belief, often by deliberate deceit. So it's intentionally pointing somebody or leading some people, body, organization to the wrong direction, or into bringing it up leading them to the wrong information or a narrative information. So like, let's say a blog let's say this is the only blog that knew of let's say a pineapple tree. Obviously, I don't think there's a pineapple tree, but let's just say there was a pineapple tree, and this person or organization is the only people that knew about this pineapple tree and knew about the effects that it causes upon, let's say, the soil or something like that. And and they'd say that the pineapple tree is bad for soil and stuff like that, bad for whatever. But it's not because it was the pineapple tree. It was because the company and organization has been spraying harmful chemicals on that pineapple tree and all around the pineapple tree, making the soil hazardous and making the soil bad. So that's what misleading can be. I mean, I'll give you another one because I don't even know why I thought of pineapple tree, but let me just say, if something that's propaganda, something that's misleading, let's say there is a person who wants to run for election, I guess we're gonna have to go into politics with this anyways. Person who runs for election, the person's background has been really good, but then an incident happens to where they have to it could tarnish their image if the information that is being fed to the public isn't good information, and it's making this one situation that happened tarnish their name, potentially ruining their campaign and ruining their reputation. But it is not as bad as it seemed, but it's being blown up to make it seem like it's worse than it actually is. That's propaganda. That's disinformation. Misinformation can often lead you to the real information, but misinformation oftentimes is just people misreading things, like not reading it with the proper context of things. And that's honestly, that happens a lot. Is mainly because of how complex they make the sentence structures of what exactly that they're talking about. They make these words very confusing, these sentences very confusing, to where it makes it seem like they're saying one thing but they're saying another thing, or they're trying to confuse you. And honestly, information done for studies, peer reviews, any scientific journals and all that, it should be clear cut, like a second grader should be able to read it perfectly fine without getting confused. Now, they can have questions because, naturally, if a second grader can't really read it all that well because of, let's say, a word that they don't understand, that's fine. That's perfectly okay. But when it comes to disinformation, some of those studies are not giving you the entire truth, or are not, or trying to spin a certain narrative about certain things based on a number of factors, but it is based on whoever wants you to tell it that way, instead of giving us the raw truth and all the data that's out there. Giving us a sample size and not giving us the entire truth. And a lot of these studies are based on sample sizes, and it don't cover the whole truth because it's really hard to. It's a lot of people on the earth, 8 billion people. But of course, I'm going to shrink it down to the population of the USA, and on all the people who are international, who are listening. It's not a dig at y'all to saying that y'all not important. It's just what I see here and what I'm experiencing in the US of A is where I'm going to be coming from when it comes to this. Now, I'd love to know, and I'm learning about cultures outside of the USA. I've been doing that my whole life anyways, but I've been, this is primarily where I live. So I'm primarily going to see in my day-to-day life everything that is happening in the US, including the news media outlets and everything that goes around that. All right, all right. So, where's the thing at? All right. So, misinformation, disinformation, propaganda is something we see. And how does that relate to systematic racism in media? Well, I'll tell you. This comes in the form of negative stereotypes that we often see in the news media. Let me just state about the news media. All right. When it comes to systematic racism in media, this thing shows up in the news media. Let's go with news media right now because I want to. That's not the main focus of what I'm talking about. But news media, let's just say Fox News or very biased news stations that like to not give the entire truth, that like to paint this narrative about certain minorities They like to paint the narrative about black people in general. To They like to paint it's politics all day on both sides, like on both liberal news media outlets and neo-Republican news media outlets. They're all biased at the end of the day, and they always try to paint a narrative of who's worse, but specifically talking about systematic racism. Yes, the liberals may address it in a way that is more delicate. But on the other side, they flat out say this is what the Democrats are doing, and they are more overt about their racism, calling whatever suspects, let's just say black suspects, thugs, hoodlums. They like to use the word super thug, but on the Democratic side, they use those words as well, and they used it like the Clintons for sure. Who was it? Was it Hillary or was it Bill? Super predators. I know one of them two said that. Just not recollecting which one said it, but it was one of them Clintons that said super predators, super thugs, and all those kinds of things throughout the media. That's just one thing. So we got to look out for that overt, and then they kind of like try to cover it up through being the party that they are, the Democratic Party. So that's one thing when it comes to news and media and just the racist narrative of the day-to-day life in news cycles, and how I've seen like a certain like police department, and there was one in Miami that had mugshots of black individuals, black people who have black people with their mugshots, and they're shooting at them with shooting rings with bullet holes in them. So very, very, very heavily racist embedded with racism for when I seen that article, and also seeing it run on the news cycle as well on TV. So those are pretty much the primary things that I can point out. Those are overtly racism. Like you can see that. Covert is when it's subtle. It's difficult to pick up. It's difficult to see. And that's what I really want to get to, is the covert ways that they get away with systematic racism in media. And that it comes in the form of negative stereotypes, caricatures, tropes, anti-black tropes, and that's what it is. That's the main focus of this episode. All right. So now we're gonna dive into that. The anti-black racism, the anti-black tropes. First of all, what is a trope? Before we get to the anti-black part, what is a trope? A trope is a figurative or metaphorical use of a word or expression. New Oxford defines it. Merriam-Webster defines it as a word or expression used in a figurative sense, a figure of speech. The second definition for that, or sub-definition, is a common or overused theme or device. The usual, and the example they give, like cliche, it's cliche. The example they give is usual horror movie tropes. They got the, and for that, let me just point out briefly, it's about, for the horror movies, you got the villain who is supposed to be taking out or making the other harmless victims disappear. There's usually a black person in there, they usually die first. So that's also that's a very light version of it. They always make us die first. Honestly, I hate when they die first, when black people die first in horror movies. But for what it is, but for what it is, a part of the other tropes, it's not as big. It's not as big to me. So now to get even deeper with that, it's an anti-black trope. It's pretty much a negative stereotype caricature used in TV, film, or whatever form of entertainment to keep a narrative about us alive, to keep a negative narrative about us alive. So one example of this is, dang, I just had it too. One example of this, let me just say another one because I forgot the first one for some reason. One example, it would be the player. Like when you for black people, being called a player, yes, it's had its praises, but it has also used in white media is pretty much saying that we're not loyal to one woman. We're not loyal. We're not. Excuse me. We're not faithful to one woman. We are womanizers. We are adulterers, and we can't control our urges, our sexual urges. Yeah, that's one way the trope can be used if we go by the player narrative. For women, for like black women specifically, because this is about racism and we're primarily the target of that. For black women, it's being Jezebel. And what a Jezebel is pretty much a caricature of a woman who is being womanized, who is objectified, who is hypersexual, and is being portrayed as such towards a black man, or to be a swirler for our black women. Now, I do want to get more into the tropes, but I feel like this what I'm gonna play here is a guy who I follow, and he's really on point when it comes to these tropes that we see in the media, we see in TV and film, we see in the entertainment industry, where we see a lot of this is happening. And I was just watching his one of his videos today, and I'm going to play it right now. Let me see. What in the nonsense? Okay, so let me just get it right here.
Me. You know what I'm saying? Nigga.
Let me see. It's taking me. Well, it ain't gonna take that long. I'm almost there. Let me click on this. I'm gonna probably play a couple of videos, but one video that stuck out, and it might bring me to all the other things that he said. And I'm gonna give credit to where credit is due. Of course, I'm gonna name his give his name, but this is one trope. This is a new on his newer videos, but I'm gonna click on maybe an older video that's resonated with me and that stuck out with me. But I'm gonna play this one.
Another thing that happens too with the
Hold on.
were not with a man, and that leads me to another thing that.
Okay. So his name is Cool Colas. So that's COOLCOLAS. I've been following him for a while, and he's been in the blurred space and teaching about anti-black tropes you see in media and film, and I've been paying attention to like a lot of things he's saying and trying to and seeing it in the movies and TV shows that I watch. So his name is Kolas. All right, I'm gonna play it right now.
Were not with a man. And that leads me to another thing that happens too with the Shea Butter Mama. A lot of times they create these son husband narratives as well too. In other words, they make their son the man of the house, almost like somewhat of an Oedipus type of thing, where it creates a level of dysfunctional dynamics in the household, where the man is because there's no man in the house, you almost force your son to take on that role as well too, which actually is a form of manipulation. And then when they become too attached and they become too close to home and you finally do get your man, then you want to throw them out. And a good example of this is Baby Boy. So there's a contrast, by the way. There's what happened in Baby Boy, and then there's what happened in Poetic Justice. And Poetic.
All right, so he was talking about the son husband dynamic, to where there's what was going on. I'm gonna read it in his description. It's
were not with a man.
Let me just turn this off. Okay. To where he said in the description about hidden messages and manipulation riddled throughout these movies because they're older, like movies like Baby Boy, Boys in the Hood, Poetic Justice, Think Like a Man Too. With the mom having an unhealthy excuse me. I had to let some wind out. Yeah. So a mom that has a black mom that has an unhealthy relationship attachment to her son by either enabling them, using them, or interfering with their relationships in order to have a gain for themselves while being seen by an audience as lovable or worthy of respect. This translates to real life and creates a trend of black men who feel indebted to take care of their mothers for the rest of their life, especially when they believe their father failed to. Regardless, I know all of this is doing of the white supremacists who wanted to distort black relationships and exploit the most negative results that came about. Pay attention, and he says, as his man Marcus Bowen has always said, pay attention to what movies aren't telling you. Okay? So that's a good one. I'm going to find another one that I actually watch. Well, I don't want to say watch a lot, but I actually and there was one. Let's see. Okay. Oh, he has the book coming out, Exposing Anti-Black Media Tropes in the Blurred Way. Oh, so it came out. I definitely need to go get this book because it has pretty much all of the tropes that he said that he's been explaining for months now on his page. I just want to pull out a couple more that I've been saying. Well, I'm gonna just say that one of the ones that he's gone in detail about is the Jezebel character trope. That's for black women. The Shea Butter Samba trope. We also got the magical Negro one. We have the Samboism. We have the... Did I say magical Negro? I think I did. We have the... Samboism and sellout trope. Same thing. We got the swirling trope. It's a lot that goes on. And the blaxploitation trope. Yeah, there's a bunch I can't get to them all in this episode, but I will be mentioning them in other episodes. I will definitely get to them. When I get this book and I'm going to read it through, I'm definitely going to go through it. But for what I have, the information I have right now, so I'm going to play one of the other ones that I said I was going to play. Let's see. Oh, what do they call it? Race play. No. That's not it. Excuse me. What was it called? Diversity ploid. It's another word for it. It's like race swap. There we go. Race swapping is a big one that we see. And a lot of times there's some people who try to make it seem like it's the worst when it comes from their mouth. When he's explaining it, he's explaining it in detail, in defense, and also in critiquing it, and also in critiquing it. I don't know why I said defense, but in critiquing exactly why it's being done. Not just it's being done, throwing rocks at it and not actually fully explaining it like a lot of other people do, especially white people. I'm just being honest. Okay. Let's see. I did say I was gonna play maybe a couple more. Hold on. I guess I will play Shea Butter Samboism. Let's listen in.
Butter Sambas, although they seem like people who are just they just seem like black women who are Sambos, there's an element to them of desiring to tackle and to talk about racism. The reality is that the Shea Butter Samba class is very heavily rooted in wanting to dismantle racism. But the question that you have to ask yourself, and this is the big distinction between the Shea Butter Samba and somebody who's pro-black, is Shea Butter Sambas want to dismantle racism so that it doesn't make things hard for them as a black woman. They don't care if it's totally dismantled. They just want to be absolved from it. Whereas the pro-black community wants everybody who is black to not have an issue with racism. That is the big difference between the two of them. Now, Shea Butter Sambas.
Okay, so that was Shea Butter Sambas, and play one more. His name is Kukolas, like I said before. Coolcolas. Let me see. And I guess I'll do Strong Black Woman versus the Sapphire. Or Black Exploitation. Which one? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Exploitation, unfortunately, was exactly as the name exclaims, which is that it's an exploitation of blackness itself. That's why it looks somewhat like a black caricaturized or a pro-black caricaturized depiction. And so that's why you would see all these images of black people saying stuff like, "I'm gonna get you, sucker. I'm gonna get you, cracker." That's because that they were going for this pro-black image that was exploited as something that was very violent and had somewhat of a almost like a funny, like loony type of theme to it, like a stylish, funny, loony theme to it. And because black people at that time were scraping the bottom of the barrel because they didn't really have representation like that, that was the thing that they wanted to go to. So the reason why I say black exploit.
Okay. So these are more of his recent videos, and the more the ones that I wanted to play more. Like I said, I'll probably get into his videos as well. And like I said, his name is Kukolas. He's you can find him on Instagram. The pro-black writer, comic creator, media analyst. He does a lot. He analyzes a lot of this TV, the new TV, and movies that are out now, and breaks them down. I mean, don't confuse it with him not enjoying the movies, but he's pointing out the aspects that we should be looking out for. And I think it's commendable what he's doing. And he's got a few books that I'm definitely gonna go buy when I got the funds for it, and I'm definitely gonna put my support behind that. So yeah. The name is Cool Colas. All right. So now, how do we deal with this? How do we deal with all these black tropes that we see, that we hear about? Now, if you're new to it, I encourage you to listen to who I just pointed out, who was Cool Colas, or look into it for yourself and just look at the things that they like. He mentioned in the description what they don't show. Oh, not what they don't show you. What they don't tell you in movies. They're just showing it to you and expecting to get away with it. So you got to pay attention what really is for us as black people and what isn't. And a lot of that has to do with them race swapping originally white characters. A lot of sometimes or using a white character as a shell for a black character, or using or making black. Oh, this is what the one. I wish I forgot the name, but I think it's anthropomorphism, where if it's a black main lead in a role, like a Soul, for example, he was not black for most of the movie. He was a soul for most of his movie. And I think that's what, let me see, anthropomorphism. Let me see if I said that was the word. Anthropomorphic, anthropomorph. Attribution of human traits, emotions, or intentions to non-human entities. Okay, yeah. Anthropomorphic. Soul is just one example, but there are plenty of other examples. Soul is just a recent example Disney does to make it black main lead not being shown as black the entire time. There's the anthropomorphic. It's a long one. Princess and the Frog is another one, and she's more than a frog for most of the movie. Tiana is a frog for most of the movie. It's not only about Disney. It's all over. It's all over the media, white media, and all these Hollywood movies and stuff like that. If you really pay attention, you will see that a lot of these movies aren't really doing it genuinely. They are giving the right representation for black audiences. They're just doing it as a diversity thing. Okay? What does they call it? DEI? Diversity, equity, and inclusion. That's what it's mainly based about, because it's about business. They losing money, then they're gonna involve black people not in the way that they should be involved in original black stories, but they're just doing it so that they can meet a diversity quota. That's what systematic racism is. That's the anti-black tropes that we see. It's a lot of hypersexualism. It's a lot of swirling, which is interracial dating with and not showing strong black families, not showing healthy black families, showing on the opposite side, actually showing unhealthy black families more to us than actually showing healthy black families. That's also a part of systematic racism in media. There's a lot more that goes into this, but that's a big one. That's a big one, showing unhealthy relationships between black women and black men, and with black men and women, or black parents and their children. There's a lot of that going on, and the solutions to those are writing our own stories, creating our own stories. Even if the big media companies are not picking up our stories, we can make it ourselves, and we can distribute it ourselves if we really want it to be out there. And I follow so many independent black artists, comic creators, authors, writers, producers, animators, illustrators, just digital artists, a lot. I follow a lot of them. And I support every one of them. If I can't support them financially at the moment, I'll support them by leaving a like, comment, share. I'm really about real support, because none of those things cost any money to you. And they don't cost any money to me. So I would do the things that make sense. If I want them to push their brand, I want their brand to be pushed out there. I want people to know about their name. I want to see the success of independent Black stories and comics in media everywhere, in the entertainment industry. So I really want to see this. I really want to see a lot of those Black accounts that I follow to take off and to actually be successful. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at with solutions. Not begging the white media to represent us the right way, because let's be honest, they're more than likely not going to do that. As long as they know that they'll give us the bare minimum of which is just putting a Black person in their TV shows and movies and not really doing anything else for them, and they knowing that they'll keep the Black audience engaged with them, that's exactly what they're going to keep doing. That's exactly what they're going to keep doing. And we need to stop. We need to recognize that, and we need to actually pull back from them, pull our money, pull our time, our energy away from all of that, start creating our stories, or putting the energy into the people who are trying to create our stories the right way, the Black people that are creating our stories, giving us our representation that we need. It can be in a smaller media form, smaller apps, applications, smaller platforms, but as long as we put our support behind them, it will be successful. We just got to put that support behind it. And those people who's willing to spend money, a lot of money on these white media companies that aren't doing us any due justice, ain't doing us any due diligence, ain't doing us any favors, is just doing what they feel is going to be most profitable for them. That is the people we should be pulling our money away from. And we should be putting into these smaller independent Black companies and comics, because that is where we're going to get the bang for our buck. That is exactly what we need to be doing. And that's exactly where I'm at. When I get all of my things situated, best believe I'm going to go back and start supporting again and again financially, put my money behind all of these creators, because I really want to see this happen. I'm seeing it starting to rise up. A lot of people are getting their stories made. A lot of independent Black comic creators and writers and illustrators are getting their stories made, getting their work done, and it's starting to get support, and it's starting to get picked up, and it's starting to actually blow up to where a lot of people are starting to know more about them. Even though they're still a bit underground, there's actually one major one that actually hit HBO that I definitely want to be tuning in for, because I really want to see this story play out. I love, and I'm gonna just say what I'm talking about. It's called Ianu. It's by the Unique. That's Youneek. That's the you can find him on IG, but that's an African comic creator, comic-based company that is doing major things right now. And also Black Sands Entertainment is doing major things as well. And a lot of the smaller ones that I want to see get to that level as well, or not if they don't get picked up. If they do get picked up, I'm going to support them regardless. And that's where I'm at. I feel like if people actually look for the things that they want, and Black people, there's blurs and regular Black people actually put the money towards the actual media that they want to see, we would be in a much better place in media right now. But we're so used to begging for crumbs that we don't actually see that we don't need that. We can make our own food. We got wilderness and nature all around us. We can do that ourselves. We don't need them. We can separate. Once we separate, it's all going to come together. It's all going to come together. So yeah, that's where I'm at. That's the solutions for me. And with that being said, I need you guys to hydrate. It is a beautiful Saturday afternoon. Hydrate, be kind to yourself, words of affirmation, be kind to others, just give them a compliment. Don't hold that compliment back. Give them a compliment. You don't know what that can do for their day. You don't know how well that can lighten up their day. Just give them a compliment, just be happy and just start off your day positive. Or if it hasn't started, if it was rough morning, think about how you're still alive and how you're still kicking and still able to do things Okay, so be happy, be grateful, and just live life to the fullest, to the best that you can, and try to get things done, like for yourself, and of course take care of yourself first, and then spread that love and joy around to other people. All right. So I'm King. It's King Moolah TV podcast. I'm out of here.